afternoon, good morning, and good evening. This is another very special episode of Battle Nations Radio. I appreciate everyone tuning in. Guys, everyone put a warm hand together, put some W's in the chat. We have Boris with us. Boris, welcome to the Battle Nations Radio, man. Thank you for hopping on. How are you doing? Good afternoon. You want to introduce yourself a little bit here to everyone?
Hey everyone, I am Boris. I am one of the developers on the remake of Battle Nations and also on the original Battle Nations. So I'm just very excited to talk about the game and about anything else you want to ask.
Yeah, we're very excited. And guys, I do want to touch on one thing before we get started. We're going to talk about a lot of cool things tonight, a lot of new content that might be coming, just kind of go over the state of Battle Nations, where everything's been, where it's going. We have a lot lined up for y'all. But I'm going to let Boris explain this a little bit more. We're not going to go over timelines too much tonight. We're going to talk about new content, everything like that. Y'all are going to get your fix. We just don't have exact timelines yet. And Boris, you kind of want to explain why to everyone here?
Yeah, so basically, developers are just really bad at predicting timelines. There's all sorts of things that can come up, all sorts of different issues or different things that maybe we didn't think about. So rather than give timelines, let's just talk about features and maybe some broad plans. But in terms of timelines, it's just not going to work out.
Yeah, I think that's a good call, Boris. I don't know if you remember the night that the level 41 through 46 update that it was supposed to come out that weekend, and Apple had some issues approving, and I think everyone got a little too excited for that update because it was said, it was coming out, and it did end up coming out. But obviously, we want to make sure everyone's happy here. But Boris, let's go ahead and get into it, man. You have a pretty interesting career. A strong connection to Battle Nations, and but first, just where are you from? Like, what part of the world are you from? Kind of just tell us about your background a little bit.
Yeah, so originally I'm from the country of Uzbekistan, and we fled to New York City when I was 5, and West Coast, and actually started to go to school at DigiPen Institute of Technology, which is the video game college. And so I, started out basically interested in and trained in programming video games.
Interesting. And did you was there any video game that you kind of grew up loving, or was there a video game that got you into the hobby? Kind of a little bit about that.
Yeah, so there's basically 2 video games that I can kind of like pinpoint as what made me really interested in game development. Number one is an old German video game called Gothic. I don't know if you guys heard of it. It's a really nice third-person kind of like medieval fantasy game. And also, I probably have put in thousands of hours into Diablo 2 when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So those 2 video games, I would say, are my inspiration for going into games.
Interesting. What style game was Gothic? Was it like a MMORPG? Was it, what was the style of that game?
It was a single-player, open-world RPG, one of the very first ones, and it was just amazing. Had a little bit of a learning curve, but once you get past that, it's a really amazing game, and I think it holds up today. So if you guys are interested, you can check it out. It's still available.
I got to go check that out. The game that I'm into all the time is Fallout, so I also love a good single-player RPG. Love the open world style, so I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. If I touch Diablo 2, I know I'm gonna sink hours into it though. Yeah. So I need to make sure to not do that. But so Boris, outside of video games, do you have any other hobbies? I know you had a little special guest on screen who was popping up earlier. I'm not sure if he or she is around still.
Oh, what's that? You're breaking up a little bit.
I'm sorry. I know you had a special guest, maybe an animal, that was around a little bit earlier. I'm not sure if they're going to make an appearance.
That's right. Yeah, I have actually 4 cats, and maybe you'll see one. Right now they're out and about doing stuff, but Yeah, I also have a dog, but she's locked up right now. Not locked up, but like she's in a different room.
No, I understand. My dog is also in the other room, because that would be way too much in the office right now. Um, but for those of you who don't know, Boris, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, Boris was a part of Z2, I believe. Is that correct? And so Boris. You were a part of Z2. Can you hear me?
Yes, that's right. I was a part of Z2. Um, so I mentioned that I went to DigiPen Institute of Technology, right?
Hmm.
Video game college, right? And they had a job fair during my senior year where some of the people from Z2 actually came to the job fair and recruited me right there. So right out of college, I started working at Z2 on Battle Nations in April of 2011.
Okay, so you were starting the project way before it was even released because it came out in November of 2011, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, yeah. So between April and November, I was working a lot of hours making Battle Nations a reality.
That was awesome. Were there any features in the original Battle Nations that you helped develop or you were particularly involved in that you were really proud of that you really liked that maybe you kind of want to talk about?
In Yeah, in general, I was working mostly on the land features, like
Okay.
building buildings and what different buildings do. My coworker was working on battle. I'm a little bit jealous. I was a little bit jealous because I wanted to work on battle, but
Yeah.
didn't get to do that. One of the features I remember spending a lot of time on getting right is the little display you get when you click on a defensive building. You know, the blue outline
Okay.
that.
One sec. Yeah. Continue. So
Like
you're
for
talking
example,
about this.
Gambit on his base.
Hmm.
Yeah, click on one of them, defensive. Yeah, exactly. So that blue
Yep.
outline, both in the original and in the remake, was something that I worked on, and it was a really interesting challenge because you have to make it performant. You can't make it slow down the game, and you also have to make it change. So, for example, if you go to Gantus's base and you
Hmm.
didn't defeat a lot of his buildings yet, you'll see that the inner portion is a different color than the actual defensive structure display, right?
Yeah.
And so what that is it's literally detecting if there is an unbroken circle of defenses, and you've broken it here, but you can see the light blue still happens if there's a circle of unbroken defenses. And making that computationally fast enough to display on 2011 phones was
Yeah.
quite challenging. But we did it. We got it done both in the OG and in the remake.
Yeah, and it looks really good. And so was it hard getting that feature to where because I know once you have overlapping, you can't attack if that makes sense. So when you have overlapping coverage and there's no like bare ground, you have to attack from the outside and work in. Was that a hard feature to kind of incorporate there? Was that one of the, kind of the biggest struggles?
Yeah, I mean, once we had the display going, we actually have this grid, right?
Hmm.
And what we do is we do a flood fill algorithm to figure out which parts of your land are inside and which parts of your land are outside the defensive
Boris, I lost you there for a second.
structure in the back end. Sorry for being super technical, but what it does is, once you do the flood fill, you don't have to do it again until something changes, and so that fact is why it's performant, basically.
Okay. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, that's awesome. That looks really good, and I think I kind of speak for everyone here when we're excited to see some more bases and some more defenses, and we'll get into it a little bit later, but talk about what role defenses might play in the future.
Sounds good.
Um, but yeah, but kind of moving on here. So was Z2 were you involved in any other games like Trade Nations? They had that fighter jet game too, I believe. Were you involved in any
Metalstorm.
of those developments? Metal Storm, yep.
No, I was 100% on Battle Nations the whole time. So from like April of 2011 to late 2012, um, just 100% Battle Nations. I did talk to the other development teams, but beyond that, not much.
I gotcha. I gotcha. And when did you work at Z2 until?
So about a year after the game's released.
I'm sorry, one more time, I lost you there.
About November 2012.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. And then kind of before we get into like the Madrona questions here, what if you want to talk about it, you don't have to get into super big detail if you don't want, up to you. What did your career kind of look like between Madrona and Z2?
Yeah, so I worked for Deloitte, I worked for Walmart, firms
Hmm.
like that. Enterprise programming, not as exciting as video games, but
Yeah, yeah,
definitely a lot better paying and a lot better hours, that's for sure.
yeah. Ooh, I bet those hours were actually really nice. Um, so kind of switching over to Madrona here. Um, when did you join the Madrona team? Like, when did you find out about like the relaunch Battle Nations project? When did you rejoin the team? Were you reached out to? Like, did you ask to join? Kind of walk us through the behind the scenes there.
Well, a few years ago, I noticed a post on Facebook in our like Z2 alumni group
Hmm.
about the remake. And I read the article. I don't remember exactly who it was by, but there was an article about the remake, a YouTube video as well. And, I searched for the Discord. I found the Discord and I asked to be part of it because, it sounded like a really exciting project and sounded like I could definitely help.
Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking about how this originally started and where we're at now. I have not seen a game be brought back from the dead like this ever. And now I'm not in the industry as you are, so you may be more familiar with projects that have happened with this. Very niche communities. I would say Battle Nations is a semi-niche community. Have you seen any other games have a revival like this before?
No, I haven't. It's actually really, really hard to revive a game like this because the original code was lost.
Mm.
All of the server code lost. So the fact that the community was able to get together and recreate something like this is for or since.
Hey, Boris, sorry I lost you there a little bit, but yeah, that is I mean it's phenomenal that this has been able to happen. It's really just been outstanding to see the support. Um, and also to see Battle Nations. I mean, when it first got released, what did it hit? Like top 50 of strategy games on the App Store the first day?
It was number one for a while.
Oof.
So
Oof.
yeah, we were like number one in the charts for a while on video games, and
Yeah.
we had millions of players. And I didn't appreciate it back then. I
Hmm.
was into a different style of gaming. Like things like RPGs and stuff like that. So I wasn't really appreciative of it back then. So now, not only do I have a greater appreciation for it, but I'm actually allowed to talk to you guys as well, the fans, which I wasn't able to do at Z2, which is even better in my opinion.
Yeah. So a little bit more red tape there, but kind of continuing about Madrona here. We don't have to get into the absolute specifics or anything like that. But just kind of wanted to ask about how the original like crowdfunding methods went pre-beta for the game. Like, how were the devs feeling about it? Were you shocked? Like what was the feeling about the going into the pre-beta crowdfunding efforts?
Yeah, so we are completely, we don't have any venture capital or anything like that. We're completely supported by the Patreons. We were, during the alpha and beta. And
Hmm.
so seeing, those numbers and how much people really put a lot of their livelihood on the line for us, especially before the game was even released, was completely mind blowing. So I'm really, really glad to have, the community's trust. And I hope that we're, making good on that.
No, it's been fantastic. I know it seems like it's a really close knit community. I feel like I personally know people from every single pre guild right now, if that makes sense. I feel like I just know everybody. It's fun keeping up in the chats. It's been going for a while. I'm still in an old like officers of battle nations group me from 2015 or 2016 that people still talking. So the fact that this is still going, I mean 10 years later is just absolutely bonkers, and it's so good to see everyone again. And it's always fun when you run into somebody who you used to play with. That's one of the best things about it.
Absolutely.
But when you were developing the game, and this doesn't even have to be beta, or this could be like in the beta or on launch or with one of the new updates. Was there anything? Is there like a difficult hurdle maybe you want to talk about that was challenging? You needed some help, overcoming it, or kind of how you went across that process. Let's say there was a bug, or I don't know if you could touch on it specifically, but maybe the SP bug for the field agents for the stun killing effect. Just kind of talk about how you tackle those challenges, how those are divvied up, and what your role in that is.
I think we'll get into a little bit more about the game a little bit later.
Okay.
But if I want to pull out a challenge that was like more general, I don't know if you guys remember, but when we started, before the alpha was out, um, the game platform that we were using to make the game, called Unity, had a little bit of a PR incident where they said, well, we're going to charge for installs and stuff like that.
Yep.
Eventually, they kind of walked that back, but that was a pretty scary time because we had almost have to use a
Oh,
different engine. Luckily, Unity kind of walked that back, and it's a little bit more fair now. I think that was probably the scariest point that didn't have to do with actual gameplay. Um, but luckily, nothing happened there, so we're still good.
so I mean, if you essentially, if things didn't work out with Unity, would you lose all progress made on redevelopment of the game? Are there fail safes in place now to make sure that maybe something like that doesn't come into play again?
Yeah, we always had, contingency plans, other game development engines that we could have used. Really glad it didn't come to that though, because I was really, really excited to use Unity's ECS system to do some of the systems in the game.
Okay. Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, I do remember that vaguely. I'm sure that was a way bigger deal for y'all than it was for kind of us on the sidelines. But for those who are familiar with the industry, I understand that that's probably a humongous impact, and some people were probably more in the know than others. Um, but we talked about it earlier. So it sounds like Madrona is 100% funded by Patreon, Patreon members.
Yep.
Guys, if you have not joined the Patreon, even if it's just $5 a month, I'm not shilling for Madrona here. I promise. I do it. That's how I get my nanos. I actually don't buy nanos. I just do the Patreon. You get a better value. I'd recommend signing up for it, but it's through that and through purchases. Is that correct?
Yeah, we are incredibly grateful to our Patreon donors because they literally supported us and literally made it possible because nobody else was funding us. It was just the Patreon donors. And now, of course, it's the people who buy nanos as well. But beyond that, we're completely not venture funded, nothing like that, just Patreon. So really, really happy about that and really, really grateful.
That's perfect. I think we're all really happy to hear that. Especially, I think everyone here might have a little bit of PTSD about things that might have happened in the past, but I don't think we're going to touch too much on that. Let's talk about some battle nations here. I think we've touched on it a bit. We talked about Madrona, Z2, kind of your personal background. Let's get into the meat and potatoes here, though. And I was on stream playing Battle Nations. You were there. You were in the chat for this. I remember finishing out the kind of the level 41 through 45 missions, and level 45 missions were awesome because it was you need to build something at the distillery. It was just all battles. It was fantastic, and I was reading the storyline, and it was great. I'm not gonna add any spoilers, but it's just fantastic. So like that might be up there for me, but do you have like a favorite storyline in the game, like maybe a favorite faction? Is there anywhere in the writing which is like this is my favorite part?
I'm gonna point back to the early game experience. I love cats,
Hmm.
so getting to play as Perface was really, really fun. And I really, I kind of wish that we had more cat characters in the game. More cat units. I think it would be amazing.
Oh, I know I know a couple of friends of mine who would love some cat units. By the way, they've been asking me to ask you about that. But so Mr. Perface is your favorite character, or Mrs. Perface?
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting, interesting. I love that pick. And okay, so for this question, you're not allowed to choose Mr. Perface again. What is your favorite unit in the game? And it's a unit that you can, you know, obtain or train.
My favorite unit aside from the Perface character, because number one, he's very effective, right? His attacks are great. He has an attack that basically almost does the whole field. Then he has an attack that can reach the whole field, right? The second
Hmm.
attack. And in terms of like his animation, I don't know of any other Battle Nations unit that actually laughs while attacking. Like if you do his second attack, you can hear the guy laugh. So I think
Wait,
that's wonderful.
it's on the tip of my tongue, and you broke up there. I heard most of it, but right when you said the unit, it broke up. Which unit were you talking about?
The TF2 heavy.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
That one's really good, especially for the early game, and pretty affordable too.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard. I just love the fact that in his second attack he actually laughs. You can
Yeah,
hear him just go ha ha,
it's awesome. That must have been such a fun,
ha, which is
such a
hilarious.
out of the blue merger that was done back in the day, but I absolutely love it. Um,
Yeah, I'm pretty happy that it made it into the remake.
it was that I'm shocked that made it into the remake, but I'm so happy it did. I mean, it was one of those things. It was that's when Z2 was kind of in their F it era. Like, let's try something, and I appreciate them for doing that. That was a fun addition there.
Yeah,
Yeah, hey, Boris, real quick. I don't know if you're keeping up on your end. Guys, I can see chat. I can see everything that's going on. You're able to see chat, right, Boris?
I am able to see chat. Yes.
Perfect. We will touch on some things later. We'll have a kind of an open Q&A towards the end. There's some stuff that we won't be able to talk about, unfortunately. But guys, yes, we can see the chat, and we will get to audience questions for sure. Um, but so I know you have a personal account. But do any of the other devs have like personal accounts? I'm sure you all have testing accounts, but do you guys have any like? I'm guessing most, if not all of y'all, probably do. It's a passion project.
Yeah, I think most of us have personal accounts, varying levels and degrees of completion.
Hmm.
I probably have the most. I don't know
Degrees
if I
of
call it.
completion.
Yeah, I probably have the most complete account.
Yeah.
My main is level 46, has all the
Hmm.
buildings upgraded to level 10, all that stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty into it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's good to see that. I know you're pretty competitive in the game. Are the devs planning on like bringing back like a guild? Like you remember Cool Ranch Army? For those who don't, it was a dev guild back in the day. It was a guild where the dev was the leader. Is that any interest in that? Is there any rumblings of that maybe happening?
No, I think most of us that play are kind of like in our own guilds. We're not like the leaders of the guilds. We're just
Hmm.
like in just regular guilds like you guys. So
Yeah,
I don't know if I want to out people and
yeah.
say who's in which guild, but we definitely join some guilds because
Hmm.
right, because you know what other people are doing. You don't get complacent.
Yep.
So personally, I think being part of a guild is really awesome.
No, it's a ton of fun, and guilds aren't officially in. We'll get to that. If you guys check the announcements, though, it is on the roadmap. It is on the roadmap on the Discord announcement. So that is we'll talk about that a little bit. But um, we kind of talked about it before, touched on it earlier. But I was gonna ask, hey, are the devs competitive with their personal? But realistically, it sounds like you are kicking everyone's ass.
I
So
mean, I don't know. Right now, I am, but that could change, right?
hmm.
So
That's good. I'm sure that creates some fun banter. But have you beaten? So you're level 46. Like you got all that. Um, have you beaten all of the bosses in the game yet? Ah, we lost you there, Boris.
our so difficult that I'm just waiting until my naval is a little bit more trained up before I attempt those. I don't want to, have to heal, 1,000, M10s. So, but aside from that, I do the ancient sentinel every.
We lost you there at the end. How, you do the ancient construct every week, but you're still waiting. You're really behind the push for level 56. Then you want to get those naval units ranked up, right?
Yeah, and honestly, like I would love to be level 50 just so I can get my TF2 heavy up to rank
Yeah,
5. That would be awesome. So
yeah. Those those level caps are good but bad for those units. You know, it stinks when it's max XP, but you can't rank them up. Rank
right.
them up, you gotta wait. But when you're doing the battles, just like an everyday battle, no bosses or anything like that. Do you prefer doing the navy battles or the land battles here?
I do prefer the land battles, although I have a special place in my heart for those coastal battles where you have a
Hmm.
mixture of land and sea units as your enemies. You can probably guess why it's easier to have the enemy have land and sea units versus the player,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because if you're in a sea battle, then you don't even have the option to place a land. And right now it's per battle, right? But because the enemy doesn't have those restrictions, the designers of the original BN were able to do that, and I think it's really fun.
yeah. The fact that they've implemented that is awesome. It'd be cool to eventually let you be able to do, land and sea when you attack somebody, but given how a like not even in game or anything, but just thinking about it in real life, if the navy's pulling up, you're not going to have land units pull up too.
Right.
Um, um, is there anything that you've already implemented in the game that was the hardest thing to implement? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So, personally speaking, I would have to say redoing the animation system using Unity's ECS
Hmm.
was probably the most difficult thing because you have to remember the original animation system in Battle Nations was made to run on really old phones, right? 2011 phones. And so it had to display all these different animations. Like if you look at your land, you have like trees and mountains and buildings, and some buildings have animations, some buildings are static, and all
Hmm.
that had to be displayed at the same time on your 2011 phone.
Yeah.
So the original devs, before I even joined Z2, had created this awesome, OpenGL, custom library to render all these animations. And they used something called ECS, which is essentially, it was like a good way to organize the data in your game so that it's very quick to render, right?
Okay.
And so they had this proprietary format where, they weren't like using somebody's code, but they just had their own system for rendering and adapt it to Unity. And Unity does have its own ECS implementation, which is nice and why we wanted to use it. But actually porting that old animation system from the old, Z2 implementation to the new Unity implementation was probably the most difficult thing I've had to do personally.
Okay.
If
Okay.
I
That
want,
makes.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I said if I want to, kind of maybe speak to the broader Madrona team,
Hmm.
um, I think the most difficult thing is probably multiplayer functionality.
Yeah. I gotta imagine that's gotta have some rigorous testing to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just a reminder, folks. I am a client-side developer, which means I program things like animations and views and the things that you see in the game, but I don't work on a server. And a lot of the things that make the game difficult to program are on the server side, and I'm not really able to speak too much about those just because I'm not in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good call out, especially, as we transition to some of the stuff here in the future. Um, there are obviously I don't know how many employees Madrona has. Not for you to say here if you don't want to. But obviously there are people with their hands in different pockets, if that makes sense. Boris, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. I kind of want to flip into the future of Battle Nations, and guys, I just want to say thank you to everyone. I have had well over 100 questions submitted this week for Boris. The amount of love from the community, Boris, personally, the number one thing that I have heard from people is first they just wanted to tell you thank you, like seriously. And I want to tell you that too, from the bottom of our hearts. We're really happy that you and the team have put in so much effort to bring this back. It runs really well. It's in a really good state right now. Um, so we're all just really happy. And I know we get a little annoying sometimes. Uh,
No.
but update in 5 hours and everything. But we are we're truly grateful. We never thought this would happen. So we're really happy about that. And I do want to go over some of these questions. And obviously most of them are going to be about the future of Battle Nations, just some of the stuff going on. So guys, we are going to get into that. Any questions that I might have missed, Boris, if you see something in the chat that you want to address, just say, hey, let's talk about that. We could switch. This is totally up to you. But yeah, I kind of want to go ahead and get started here and talk about, where Battle Nations is at. I think most people who play this game right now probably had played it back in the day. I think that's pretty fair to say. Um, But with that being said, I know back in the day, Z2 did do a good amount of advertising with Battle Nations, and I know the YouTube community right now itself is really picking up with the game, and that's awesome to see. But does Madrona itself have any plans to implement some sort of advertising campaign? Are we expecting to see anything like that? Is there ambition for that? Kind of where do you and Madrona stand on advertising for the game?
Well, first of all, I want to say, just to your earlier point, the feeling is absolutely mutual. We, the devs, and me especially, are incredibly grateful to the community for their support. Literally, nothing would be possible without you. The donors, the players, the people in Discord, you're all vital to the game. And we just want to put that out there. The feeling is absolutely mutual. We, the devs, and me, I'm just so grateful to all of you. It's been amazing and mind blowing. To answer your question about advertising, we do have plans to advertise, but we wanted to release the multiplayer features before that because it would be really tragic if somebody joined the game and left because there was no multiplayer. So we want to wait until the multiplayer features are at least somewhat in before we start with our advertising campaigns.
No, that makes total sense, and I know I personally theorized about that of like, hey, let's get multiplayer running before. It just seems like most of the Apple games now are games you can download on the phone, just have that multiplayer, and that's kind of what keeps people coming back. So we are very, very excited for that to see the advertising campaign. But yeah, I think that's probably a good call. And kind of to piggyback off of advertisements here, do you ever see a Tapjoy feature coming back? And for those of you who don't know, Tapjoy is when you're able to watch
Wait,
advertisements.
what's that?
Sorry, I lost you there. So um, the next question was going to be, do you ever see like a feature like Tapjoy or anything akin to that coming back into the game? And for those who don't know, real quick, guys, Tapjoy was a service that that ZT used for Battle Nations back in the day, where you could watch advertisements for other mobile games, and then you would earn nanopods for Battle Nations. But just as a feature, do you think that's ever going to be implemented back? Is that being talked about?
Yeah, Tapjoy, does a lot of different things. So I'm not going to speak to Tapjoy, but the concept of getting free nanopods for watching a video or something like this, we are considering that for sure.
Okay, that's probably definitely not top of the list, I would assume.
No, not for me at least.
Yeah, no. Okay, so kind of based off of that, based off of advertising, I kind of have a guess as to where your answer is going to be on this. But do you think that the like official dev Q&A videos will come back, kind of similar to the old Z2 style, maybe in a shorter format, or maybe even just like doesn't have to be a video, just like like responses from community questions, like every month or something like that?
The problem with that is we're just so busy building the game and
Yeah.
everybody's heads down. Everybody's putting all of their free time into this. Like, you have to remember, for a lot of us, this is not our main job. This is a side
Hmm.
job for us. And so we put all of our free time into just developing the game. And we would rather, churn out features, bug fixes, all that stuff quicker, rather than, spend a whole bunch of time on a dev Q&A. So maybe eventually we will have something like that, but for now we're just too busy developing the game.
No, that totally makes sense. I mean, I don't think the community appreciates how much and how many how much and like how many bug fixes are taking place, like even if we're not really aware about it, and that does consume a lot of time, and we do understand that, and that is going on in the background. Are bug fixes still kind of like a number one priority, or is that taking up a majority of the bandwidth, or is there a team kind of dedicated to that?
So bug fixes are an incredibly high priority for us, but so
Hmm.
is, feature development happen that is being worked on. So it's all, it all gets done. And so, we just, we prioritize what needs to be prioritized, and pretty much do all of that.
It's awesome. It's insane that you're able to really just juggle all of that at once. That would be. I know the Madrona team isn't massive, definitely not where Z2 size was, but the fact that y'all are able to juggle that with having already level 46 out is pretty nuts. I think there were people who were doubt that we'd be past level 40 this year. So
Yeah.
the fact that we're already here is fantastic, and it runs really smooth. I haven't really had a ton of issues. Um, so kind of going off all of like this communication, advertising, everything like that. How if you were to give the dev team on a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate your communication with the community? You got me, Boris?
You cut out there a little bit. Could you please repeat the question?
Yeah, yeah. So I was gonna say, kind of going off everything we've been talking about, advertising, community relations. Um, how would you say you in the Madrona team would kind of rate yourself 1 out of 10 on dev communication with the community?
Yeah, honestly, I'd rate us about a 4 out of 10.
Huh.
We're definitely planning on, improving how we communicate with you guys. Stuff that maybe is a little bit more on the back end side, a little bit more technical,
Hmm.
and we don't want to inundate people with a whole bunch of announcements on stuff that's going on the back end. We,
Yeah.
we don't want to have people mute the Discord because there's too many announcements or whatever. Because when we do have announcements, we want people to get them. So I think it's something that we can definitely improve on. But right now we're just too busy, developing the game.
That totally makes sense. I know every time. I think 4 is a little bit low. Um, I mean, I probably give. I think maybe at sometimes it felt like a 4, but realistically, recently it's probably like a 6 or a 7. I don't know if you know this or you see this or you in the dev see this, but every time y'all are in the VC,
Yep.
everyone gets super excited, super riled up. That's when you're probably getting the most pings in like the general chat. So it's everyone's like, "Hey guys, level 70 is coming out or updates in 5 hours." Whenever we see y'all in the working in there, and I'm sure that gets a little bit annoying. I think the community has done the most communications with us than most AA games. Yeah, I don't know if you saw what Rujit said there. Let me go ahead and throw that on screen. But he was saying, and I agree with this. I think y'all have done a pretty good job at communication.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I know for like other games I play, they have like totally like they have employees dedicated to literally just communication. But with the capacity that the team has right now, it's just been fantastic. So we always love the communication. We appreciate it. Like you doing this takes it up way more than a 4. But yeah, I think we're really excited about that. So um, a big feature that people are very excited about, and I think people have been wanting us to talk about it a little bit and ask is we don't need a timeline for this, but prestige. I think that was originally implemented into the game at level 30, 35, and if you guys can see on my base, I currently have all my shops turned off just because I have 24 million gold. I don't need the XP. Um, you know, I XP doesn't really matter when you're max level. Is there a level at which Madrona would like to implement prestige?
Yeah, so we would ideally like to get Prestige in as soon as possible.
Hmm.
We kind of want to do multiplayer first,
Okay.
but Prestige is definitely something that we're looking at. Um, yeah, I guess just keep looking at the announcements, and maybe we'll have something soon.
Yeah, so it seems like I think um, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but with the ancient sentinel coming right around the corner, I think everyone's kind of eyeing that radio tech. I think that's the big grab for people wanting prestige. Um, but multiplayer makes sense. I totally understand. I think multiplayer is a more important issue right now. Um,
Yeah, yeah, and we still need to kind of hash out the Prestige system itself. We want to make sure that
mhm.
it's the most engaging system it can possibly be.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're looking forward to that. Obviously, it's this is from a 2011 game, so we're excited to kind of see when that happens. The gold tank gang rise up. The gold tank was one of the funniest prestige units of all time because it's just the heavy tank. It's just gold. Um,
Yeah.
but that was a fun one. So another feature that people are obviously very excited about, and I guess this will probably help fund Madrona a little bit more when this feature comes into place. Is um, do you think that we'll see like don't not looking for a timeline, but is our promo units being actively considered in the background, and then like will they be rolled out with like boss strikes or like with the ancient sentinel? Like will those feature will those are they being considered in the background essentially?
Yeah, so it's unlikely that we'll get promo units soon.
Hmm.
There's a lot of aspects to releasing those, like balance and
Yeah.
things like that. So we are definitely like soon.
We lost you there at the end, Boris. What were you saying?
I said we're looking at ways to roll them out, but it's likely not going to be soon.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. And then um, kind of another feature that I think is probably pretty important um, with with multiplayer being rolled out, especially. And I know that's been a big fix. Is like are anti cheats being considered in the background? And what I mean by this is like, does Madrona have like a system that they plan on using in order to like tackle like cheating, um, illegal macro use, kind of that?
Yeah, so we take cheating incredibly seriously. It undermines the experience. It
Hmm.
makes people want to leave the game. So we do take cheating extremely seriously. We do have ways of detecting and dealing with it. And so before we launch boss strikes, we will we're going to issue bans and other actions
Hmm.
for people who have been cheating. So definitely before boss strikes, we plan to really come down hard on cheating.
Yeah, so guys, watch out, don't cheat, and just enjoy the game too. You play it, you put some time into it. You don't. It's a great balance. But yeah, just enjoy the game. Have a good time. Enjoy it. You'll be ready for boss strike. Um, but yeah, and kind of off of that, more so talking about like rules and regulations. Like, is there like a strict set of rules that's going to be adopted in like Discord or like in-game communications for like call it like maybe like a conflict between some guilds during boss strikes or like spam or anything along those lines?
I don't think we'll definitely do something
Okay, you said you'll definitely do something for that.
if it's needed. We don't have any plans right now.
Perfect. Okay. I'm in P Warp specifically. We were gonna just test the bounds of that, see how much we could get away with before um, the wrath of Madrona comes down on us. No, no, no.
Yeah, I would encourage anybody who is currently, using macros or cheats to stop doing it before, you know, before Madrona, comes down hard on that. So
Yeah,
now is your chance. Stop cheating now, or regret it later.
exactly. Um, so Boris, if you had absolute control of the game, um, is there a unit that you would create or add into the game right now? Does that make sense?
Yeah, like honestly, think about Perface, right? Perface is a temporary unit that you only get to use like for 3 battles, right?
Hmm.
Imagine just like you have trainable raptors, trainable cats. How cool would that be, right? You have this unit that is fast and agile, right? It can attack every turn, you know, and is cute to boot. So if I had complete control, I'd probably work on a cat unit.
A legendary Purface. Would a legendary Purface be equivalent to a legendary Sandworm?
It should be better, right?
Exactly, exactly. I was really looking forward to the plasma Purface. No.
Yeah. You
um. So it was mentioned a while ago that the medium tank, which is a nano unit originally, that there were plans to maybe shift that to a non-nano unit. Wanted to see number one, um, is that still kind of the plan? Or and two, if so, are there any other nano units that you'd think about maybe making non-nano units in the future?
Yeah, so the medium tank is a little bit of a special case.
Hmm.
When the game came out, the level cap was 30, and the
Yep.
medium tank was actually worth it, right? And then when they raised the level cap to 35, other units came out that basically
Yeah. The heavy tank
because
obviously better.
it gets outclassed so quickly.
Hmm.
So specifically the medium tank, we decided that yes, that's going to be changed to a non-nano unit. Um, there are no other units right now that we're just planning, concretely to, change to be non-nano, but we definitely will, eventually do a pass and consider that. But right now, the medium tank is a special case.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. I'm definitely looking forward to the medium tank. I'll get a couple just because I think they look cool.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I have my heavy tank at R6, so
Yeah.
not too much there. Um, so if you were to kind of like a would you rather question or what comes first question, where do you think like the focus has been? Because we've talked about multiplayer. Where's been the focus more so right now, or like what's more likely to come first, PvP or a boss strike?
Definitely boss strikes. They are
Ooh.
coming first for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So it sounds like the attention's been placed a little bit more there.
Yep.
Okay. Um, so I know it's been teased a little bit, and there's been some talk about it. Because I myself am a very big fan of the Hacienda. Um, and for Madrona points, is there a system that's been kind of discussed in the background? I know Tank Tactics is another Madrona game. Um, how's the plan to implement that? Is that been kind of like front and forward, or is that more on the back burner right now?
No, no, we're definitely planning on implementing the Madrona points. Initially, they're going to be very similar to what Z2 points were,
Hmm.
where you play other games and, achievements and things like that. But we're discussing other ways that you can earn them.
Okay. Okay, because I mean, we can both be pretty brutally honest here. The Madrona points, the stuff that costs Madrona points aren't that exciting, or you don't need them as much. Do you think you'd ever implement more units that cost Madrona points, or I'm assuming that's way, way, way in advance, way ahead. So probably not top of mind, but anything maybe worthwhile that costs Madrona points is what I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, you were right. Our primary focus, just in general, is to get the game to be as close as possible to the original, and
Hmm.
then after that, we're going to work on improving it. But yeah, for now, the goal is just to get it to that original Z2 OGBN state.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like from the chat too that there's going to be a big boost in downloads for Tank Tactics after this interview. Um,
It's a
trying to
fun game. If you guys haven't given it a try, it's actually pretty fun. So give it a try.
I,
It's worth it.
I used to play a version of it. I'm not sure if it's like the same, but it's a version of it on the Wii.
Hmm.
Is that kind of like the similar model of the game?
Yeah, yeah, that definitely was an inspiration for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I that will be rightly downloaded right after this. So next question here is, are you, and guys, this is a big one. We got a lot of people in here. Are you able to give us any glimpses, not into timelines, but maybe what the priority is, or what we could expect to see in the next update of the game?
Yeah, so the next update is going to have friends list. You're going to be able to make friends. You're going to be able to search for friends. You're going to be able to go to your friend's land. You're going to be able to assist your friends.
Nice.
I say. Um,
We lost
and
you
then
there for a
obviously
little.
we're going to have some bug fixes for you guys, but mainly it's about friends and assisting them. So I'm very excited to bring you guys that.
Yeah, everyone's base is going to get a lot more customized after we can start seeing them.
Yeah.
And we lost you there for a second. So guilds maybe not yet, but we're looking at like friends list assisting, that sort of feature is what's expected next.
Yeah, it's going to be mostly friends assisting and bug fixes in the next update.
Gotcha. So with that, um, with the talk about seeing friends' bases, because I'm very excited to see everyone's bases. There've been base design competitions going on in the background. Is there ever like and I know we want to get the game to where it was before we make all these changes. Has it been considered for like a quality of life, like where in some of the more modern like app store games you can like pick up everything from your that's on your land and replace them, like a better way to design your base, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So first of all, you are right. We are again looking to restore Battle Nations to its original glory before making any sweeping changes. However, we are definitely considering different ways that you can edit your base.
Mm-hmm.
We acknowledge it's a little bit difficult sometimes if you want to change your base layout. So
Yeah.
we're thinking about it, but it's probably not going to be for a while, as we're looking to restore the game to its original glory first.
Yeah, and we understand these are way down the line features. I know that is the biggest priority, and along with base design, has a collect all button for houses ever been considered?
Yeah, I mean, we've considered it. I can't really say whether or not we'll do that, but definitely we are definitely thinking about it.
Okay. And then so again, these are way in the future questions. Just to preface these, um, have you ever considered rebalancing any units that are in the game currently?
Yeah, we'll definitely go through a big balancing pass, but again, we just gotta get the game back to its original glory first.
Gotcha. Okay, so it sounds like that's being considered in the background. I know there's some units that maybe um, so there's some Tempest diehards, I will say.
Yeah.
But I know that's been that's been talked about. Another feature, and I think this is just kind of us providing feedback to you at the time, is saved formations, preset formations. So let's say, for example, just bear with me here. I go to, I think it's in like Bournemouth. If I go there and it's a 5x5x3, does that make sense? Like grid formation wise. Will it ever be considered for like pre-saved formations to be used for that?
Yeah, so obviously, we understand that, sometimes finding your units in battle setup is a little bit tricky.
Hmm.
We've been talking about various ways to improve the battle setup experience, including perhaps pre-placed formations or favorites or something like that.
Hmm.
We're not done thinking about it yet, but it is definitely on our radar.
Okay. Okay, that's perfect. Because I know Like, especially if I'm trying to grind units and it's like, okay, I'm using these units over and over and over again. And you're right, that'd be an awesome feature. Like, I don't know if I would use a pre-formation as much because each enemy battle is a little bit different, so I need to place them a little bit differently. But if I could favorite them, so like, hey, I'm using my field agents, my Dexter frags, and my light chem tanks. Let's throw those in the favorite, easy click, and just so you're able to battle a little bit faster would be nice.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Are there any glimpses that you can provide? It sounds like multiplayer is like definitely a heavy front and forward feature right now. Are there any ideas or glimpses you can provide as to, are there any like consideration of reworking PvP? Is it going to go to its original glory first and then get worked up from there? Is that kind of the idea? Just where your head's at with that.
Honestly, not much I can talk about when it comes to PvP. We're definitely looking at both improving the original experience and, getting it to a place where, you can actually battle your friends. But beyond that, I can't say much.
Understood. Yeah, and I think just being able to battle your friends and talk trash to a degree is going to be really exciting. It will kind of help test how good you are in terms of strategy at the game. Because as of right now, I can beat these encounters with, both hands tied behind my back. But when you're fighting people who have, R6 supers and stuff like that, that's going to change the game a little bit. So I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. All of the NPC enemies, they're all level 1, right? So you want to battle something that's a little bit more. Yep.
I got to put those R6 wimps to use. I didn't grind them out for nothing.
That's right.
So, with that, let's see where I'm at right here. Are you able to kind of walk us through the last update, as in like conception, drawing board to testing, development, and then submission and release? Are you like a little behind the scenes as to how does Madrona develop an update for Battle Nations?
Sure. So whenever we specifically consider a level increase update, like the one between 41 and 50, the first thing that we do is we go through all the missions and all the things that you unlock, and we make sure that if there's any features that need to be added for those, that we have those features. We make sure that, if there's any, kind of like, like the, basically, if there's anything we need to do for that, we test all the missions, we test all the new content, right?
Yep.
All that has to be tested. Usually, Z2 has like something new for every like level range,
Yep.
So it's just a matter of, figuring out what those new features are, what those things that we need to test are, and actually doing the implementation and testing.
Okay.
I would say that, as a programmer in general, the majority of my time, the vast majority of my time is spent testing things, right? You code things for, an hour, you got to test those things for 10 hours.
Okay.
So definitely, and it always feels like there's not enough testing, right? No matter how much you test, there's still always bugs. You release to the community, and all of a sudden there's all these new bugs that you didn't even, find during your own test.
Your own testing, yep.
Yeah, I would say testing is probably the largest part of that, especially for a level cap increase where there's going to be new stuff that we, maybe haven't tested before. I think that's the most important thing.
Interesting. So you're again, the programming side then is not as difficult. It's just the testing is really kind of the kicker here, it sounds like.
What's that?
So the program, I would think separately, differently, because just again, not my forte. I'm not in the programming world, but I would think personally that programming takes longer than testing. I'm pretty shocked that it's almost like a 10-to-1 ratio of testing to
definitely
programming.
Yeah, testing is definitely a part of programming. So there's different kinds of testing you do, right? Like when you write a function in programming, you got to test that little piece of code. And then when you kind of like include that code among all the other code, you got to test how it works with all the other
Okay.
work. You got to test that the bugs that you fixed are actually fixed. And, if you're an experienced dev or even an inexperienced dev with AI help, the actual programming isn't really going to take as much time as it is to do all the testing. So yeah, I would say for anybody that wants to become a programmer, you will spend probably 80% of your time testing.
And kind of a side note onto that, has AI been somewhat of a helpful tool in terms of the development?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If anybody is not using AI, they are currently at a severe disadvantage. But you have to do it the right way, right? You can't just blindly ask AI for some code and have it
Hmm.
write it. You have to handhold it for sure, but it does increase productivity. You can't deny that.
Interesting. Well, it's. I mean, it's extremely nice that y'all have that kind of that extra tool or that extra employee that's able to help you all out for that. So glad that those features like that exist. So Madrona is able to kind of get a helping hand here. I want to shift over into to some of the questions here that I've seen in chat. Guys, if you have questions, now's the time to talk about it. Boris, for this segment, don't chat. Nice, nice. So for this segment, if you just want to pass, just say, hey, can't really talk about that. Totally understand. But the first thing that I've been seeing come up a good amount here is there anything on the player side that we can do to help with development, or is kind of reporting bugs the most important thing that us as players can do to assist with development right now?
Yeah, so obviously reporting bugs is incredibly important, and we value your reports. I would say the number one thing that you can do to help the Battle Nations development is just tell your friends about it. The more
Hmm.
players we have, the bigger the game grows, the more chance we'll have to, either we'll just, the more players there are, the more we can, develop, right? Like,
Yeah. So it's basically just so reporting back bugs, making get more downloads, preaching the good word of the game. Okay, perfect. That's good to know. I think people have been kind of eager about that. Um, so kind of going on here about more about questions. Let me go ahead. Um, I know it has been asked about a good amount. If you can't talk about it, don't worry. Um, are decorations going to revert back to their normal stage, or are they all going to be strictly decorations, do you think?
yeah, we're definitely going to reintroduce decorations as things that can actually boost your surrounding buildings.
Hmm.
But that is a little bit of a lower priority than other things like multiplayer, etc.
Yeah.
So eventually, we will reintroduce decorations and all that stuff. But for now, we're focusing on things that we feel are more important to the core gameplay.
Yeah, I think y'all are hitting the nail on the head there. I would, as much as I love decorations and how much boost they can be, I think multiplayer is definitely the first thing that we'd be looking for.
Absolutely.
Um, Perfect. Some of the other things I want to look at here is George was asking a question. Do the developers or any other people involved in Madrona get sandbox features? Will we be able to remove the obstacles in our base and expand further than currently? Does that make sense?
I'm not sure I understand the question, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand the second half of the question now that I'm reading it. I think first and foremost, and I'm pretty sure like in the alpha, sandbox features meaning you have access to all the buildings, you can place them. Like you have access to more of the game that is available than we have currently.
And the question was about Sandbox being available again.
It was do developers at Madrona have access to those features?
Um, I would say that during testing, we definitely have test accounts and test aids that help us do things. But it's less of a access to a sandbox and more access to the database. So we can give ourselves whatever unit we want, for example, in our test accounts.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, and kind of another. I'm going to kind of compile a lot of the questions that I've been seeing into one more broad question here. Um, does the Madrona team ever get a little bit like almost antsy with like features that weren't in original Battle Nations that they want to implement? Like, hey, I got this idea for this new storyline, or hey, like, um, this would be really cool if we had these sort of like as they were saying in there, like daily features or stuff like that. Do do you ever find yourself the team ever like getting ahead and like talking about this new stuff, or is it heads down, pencils down, we're doing this first, we're not talking about anything until we get this game back up to its original glory?
Oh no, absolutely. We talk about all the stuff. So we see your suggestions. We
Hmm.
have our own internal system to track the suggestions and the things that we're planning. We talk about things all the time that are planned after we get it back to the original glory. But obviously, we can't make any promises because we're still kind of churning through that and going through all the legwork to make sure that if we do release something that's new, that it's going to be good and beneficial to the community and the game.
Gotcha. That's fantastic. Okay, so back to the other question. It sounds like he was more so like asking like, will we ever be able to change like mountains or anything like that? I would personally kind of hope not. I think the base looks cool as is, but I think that's more what the question was. Um,
I understand the question. I think some players might find it annoying that you have this mountain in the middle of your base that you can't move.
mhm.
But we don't have any plans right now to allow you to remove those. So if you want it, post it in suggestions and
Yeah,
upvote it, and maybe we'll give it a thought.
that's perfect. Yeah, and taking a look here, this has been an interesting one, and one that I think a lot of people would be pretty pumped about. And I'm sure the team has seen this one. Um, in terms of like quality of life improvements, going off of Howkin's question here, with SP farming, like if a unit is maxed out, um, and let's say I'm fighting with two units, one's maxed out and the other one needs SP. Is there ever like a consideration of like, hey, none of the SP from that battle is going to the maxed out unit. It's all going to that unit that needs the SP.
In terms of that, we haven't really talked about any changes to that system. The original designers of Battle Nations did kind of do all that on purpose for various reasons that I can't go into.
Hmm.
And those reasons may or may not be still relevant, but it's not something that we've talked about.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, oh, that's an interesting question. So this one's from Admiral Tendies here.
Mhm.
He's saying since Battle Nations has come back, have any former Z2 employees reached out to Boris to catch up and whatnot?
Yes, there have been some. So I was not the only person hired from Digipen into Z2. There was a couple of other friends of mine that were hired alongside me, and some of them a little bit after that. And some of us have reconnected, and I've even tried to recruit some people, but everybody's working on their own things. So right now it's just a couple of fun conversations, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, gotcha. And Boris, how has the team, the Madrona team, been meshing together? Do you feel like there were like any hardships when you first came on, or has like the team just been firing on all cylinders? Seems like y'all get along pretty well. But just wanted to see kind of like insights as to relationships. It seems like the team's really close, not just with work, but kind of with everything else.
Well, the funny thing is that this is my face reveal, not just to you, the community, but also to the folks at Madrona, who all they have is just a really old LinkedIn picture of me. So, hi everybody, this is what I look like. But we are really close. Obviously every team has its disagreements, but I feel like I really trust the team. I really trust Andrew and Alex's leadership. I think
Yep.
they've done a really, really great job with the community, with the game, and all that stuff. So yeah, even when there are disagreements, we're respectful. Oh, hello.
Yeah, there's Madrona.
There we go. I feel like we're respectful, and I feel like it's a really, really good team.
That's perfect. Hey, I want to ask two questions real quick. I am gonna sneak off and use the restroom here. I'll be right back. But two questions here is, um, are there any openings for more Q&A testers if somebody wants to kind of like help out or get involved? And if you can't talk to that, that's fine. And then another one that Nick G was asking is like a consideration for upgrading the nano storage vault to the high capacity vault. Like, would that ever be considered? And give me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So I'm gonna wait for him to come back, but I'm not gonna comment on the QA side of things. I think that's something that can be handled by somebody other than me. But upgrade the Nano Vault. That's a good idea, but I don't think we've discussed it. So yeah, post it in suggestions if you haven't already, and we'll think about it.
Hey, Boris, you got me? Uh, Sorry about that. Can Boris see chat? Yeah, Boris can see the chat. Um, I think everyone's really excited. Are there any? Alex, are you still squeezing blood from the rocks? Are there any events or I don't really want to get into the specifics of it, but like um if you had to pick, like back from playing the game more so as from like the player side rather than a dev side, um, what like events did you look forward to most in the game? And did you play Battle Nations past when you past 2012?
So originally, like I said, I wasn't really into Battle Nations when I was first programming it. I was more into
Hmm.
like these big AAA titles.
Yeah.
So I didn't really play back then. However, I am really, really excited for boss strikes. Um, Not only because I didn't play, but because boss strikes kind of really started to hit their stride after I already left Z2. So
Hmm.
I'm really, really excited to actually be part of that this time.
Yeah, I am. I I think we could say hands down, and I don't know if I'm able to do a poll here. I probably should have made somebody a mod. I was supposed to, but I forgot. But I am curious, like, what people are most excited for. I think what I've really seen too is like with the anticipation, people know there's infected. We could see that in the chat. Yes, Boris could see the chat. People know infected. We know about double SP units. Those are all features that everyone's excited to come back, and I'm sure we'd all love them to come back at once. Um, but I think everyone would say that Boss Strike is their favorite event that they would be excited to come back. So we are really excited to kind of see that and get into the competitive side of Battle Nations. Um, and with that, is there a now it sounds like you weren't too involved in it. Is there a boss strike that you were like particularly fond of, or you just have no memory of any of the boss strikes?
Um, so I don't have a lot of memory of any of the boss strikes, but I'm really excited. Is the spider wasp a boss strike? Because that sounds really, really cool.
I think it was my boss strike knowledge is not as good as some other people here. But that would be a cool. I think people are excited for like a critters boss strike. I think that'd be really fun.
Yeah, I'm also
Um,
excited for the boss strike rewards. Working together with the guild to like get
yeah.
grind out the highest reward. Um, I can't guarantee that the boss strike system will come back exactly as it was in Z2, but
Hmm.
I am excited to get those rewards for sure, especially the planes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everyone wants a couple more planes. And kind of going off of that in terms of like not timeline, not asking timeline here, but is there a plan to have guilds as a feature be available for a decent amount of time prior to the first boss strike? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
In
Lost you there for a little bit. You got me?
future, but I can't say whether or not there's going to be a lot of time or not between that and the first boss strike. Like it's likely not going to be in the same update, but I don't know anything about the timing of that.
Yeah, yeah, I understood. I was just curious because my expectation is like there are going to be the guilds that have already pre-formed that are going to get right in. Everyone has their gold saved up. They'll be level 80, max level, out the door, ready to go for boss strike. But then there will also be other guilds that are completely new that are just going to take a little bit of time kind of get ramped up. So the curiosity was, are these guilds going to have time to get prepped, recruited, and max leveled before that boss strike comes knocking on the door?
Yeah, that is definitely one of the aspects that we're considering in
Hmm.
terms of the timing of this. There are other aspects, but I can't really get into that.
Yep, totally understand. Going into here, let's take a look. Some is there a system in existence to do community? Any news source of vials? No, Boris, not to answer for you here, but I would assume that vial implementation is strictly going to be the same here. Um, oh, here's another good one. Has this been talked about in the background? Maybe some sort of like leaderboards. Will those ever be kind of considered for the game? Like guild leaderboards, and then also PvP leaderboards or just power leaderboards?
I don't think I've been involved in any conversations about leaderboards, but I don't see why not. I mean, you know, we have quite a lot planned in terms of kind of like outside of the game things like leaderboards and whatnot. We haven't
Hmm.
talked about that specifically, but we do have some plans about things like that.
Gotcha. I don't know if I'm allowed to ask this, but has there been any consideration for, because one of the Patreon rewards for being a Patreon in the beta was a special decoration. Has there been any design on that going on in the background? Has that been talked about? And if you can't say anything, just say can't talk about it. But as somebody who likes to design their base, I like base designing. Has that been talked about, or any pre-designed plans? Not expecting it to be implemented anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm starting to sound like a broken record. I
You're
mean,
good.
if we promised it, then you guys are definitely going to get it eventually.
Hmm.
For example, I did, a little while ago, work on a new animation system so that we can, at least from the animation side, support new things like that. However, there's just so much that goes into, that, there's balance considerations, there's, timeline considerations. So it's just really, really hard to say anything beyond, we've talked about it.
Yeah, and hey guys, I am seeing Boris and I are seeing all of your questions in the chat. Um, there is just some stuff that Boris is limited in what he's allowed to talk about, or strictly that we just don't have enough information to kind of like suffice for the answer right now. So we don't like we're seeing all the questions. We understand everyone's very antsy for all the units. It's incredibly fantastic that the game's back, but also obviously everyone's like, oh, I need everything right now. So we understand, and I have that too. Like I would love for all the features to be out, but like we're just trying to kind of tackle some of the things that we can talk about right now. So we're gonna kind of stick to that. Boris, is that kind of right there?
Absolutely. Yeah. I see a lot of questions in chat about when stuff is going to happen. And you're just not going to get an answer from me about when, just unless you're talking about the very next update, which I can say is probably going to happen this year. That's a joke.
Yes, yes, yes.
um, but yeah, like in general, like when comments are just really difficult to answer because there's just so many things going on that it's difficult to pinpoint exactly when something is going to happen. But I mean, I do appreciate, everybody's just really excited about the game and really excited about the new features, and I'm excited too.
Yeah, I think that's a good call out, guys. Yeah, we're trying to get everything answered to the best of our abilities. I think it's also good to know that the devs would love for all the old features to be out right now. They would prefer that, so they could start working on new stuff and also, you know, be getting all the fun stuff in. But it takes a second. Yep. See, yeah, I'm not familiar with coding. An interesting question though, is you're familiar with like the guild level system? Is that correct?
I think so, yeah.
Just donating gold to rank up your guild, so you get like the SP, XP, and increased member capacity. Is that I'm guessing that's probably going to stay the same in terms of implementation.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I don't really know. I'm not the exact person working on guilds right now,
Hmm.
so I'm not sure which direction they're going to go. But a good guiding principle for what we do is, you know, for most things, we're just aiming to restore the game to its original state before doing any extreme changes. So that's kind of like a good like guiding principle. If you have a question about, hey, is this going to be the same or different? It's probably going to be the same first and then different later, unless there's something really kind of toxic.
Yeah.
Like, there's some things we don't want to bring back, but aside from that, we are looking to restore the game first.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Jet, it was making the comment that 1.2 billion is a lot of gold, man. I do want to break that down. It is. I ran the calculations. I believe it's only 12.7 million gold per player. So it is. It's a lot. It's really not that bad to get your guild up to level 80. I promise.
Yeah, I wouldn't focus too much on exact specifics about what it used to be like.
Hmm.
That might change, it might not, but I wouldn't get too hung up on like the exact like gold numbers and things like that.
Okay, that's interesting. And then the question for Boris: is there a favorite suggestion that you've seen put in the community Discord?
Oh, that's an interesting question. There's been a lot of suggestions.
Yeah.
Um, um, I can't think of anything right now. There's just a lot of good quality of life stuff in there. I think that 2011, 2012 was a very different time for mobile gaming, and I think as a gaming community, we've evolved past some of these kind of like quality of life problems. I know that somebody's asked about a collect all tax
Hmm.
is kind of like in the spirit of what I personally would like to see in the game. But I'm not speaking for Madrona here. I'm just speaking for myself. I personally would like some of these quality of life improvements. I also like the suggestions people have made about battle setup and how to improve that. And so it's just a matter of priorities, a matter of what we have time to do, and there's also a lot of things that we discuss that maybe aren't super public, but would prevent us from doing some of these things.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping personally that we get some of these quality of life features in.
That's awesome. Hey guys, if you haven't already, I'm gonna do a little bit of self promo here, Boris. If you could just hit that like button, subscribe. It really helps the channel. Battle Nations Radio is every Wednesday at 6 p.m. We're doing it on Saturday for this special one. But guys, you as the community are actually allowed to come on. It's a ton of fun. So hope y'all to see y'all there, and I'm definitely seeing some new faces. So I appreciate everyone showing out. Um, Boris, one more kind of like big question for you here. And this might just be another one where you can't really talk about it. But has the idea ever been passed around of doing a collab like like Z2 did with TF2? Has that idea ever been floated? And not, hey, is it in action or anything like that? Understand that would be way down the line, but like, has that crossed the minds before?
I personally haven't been in any conversations where that's come up, but obviously, I personally would love for that to happen.
Yeah.
So, I'm with you guys. I am not just a Battle Nations programmer; I'm also a Battle Nations player, and so like I said, the TF2 Heavy is one of my favorite units in the game, and I would love for any other cross promotions to happen, but I'm not really involved.
Gotcha. Yeah, Valkyrie. I would really like to see my my Lieutenant Morgan skin in Fortnite. That'd be really cool. Oh man. Boris, is there anything you want to touch on here? Maybe something that anything that you feel like you want to communicate for the dev team to the community? I mean, this is a really good opportunity. So
Well, first of all, a little bit to what you were saying earlier. The success of YouTubers and content creators is somewhat tied to the success of the game. So, if y'all could just like, comment, and subscribe on Hobbies channel and the other YouTubers that do that cover the game. it really, really helps to, it helps the YouTubers, it helps the game, it helps bring new people in. Tell your friends about the game, and support your content creators.
Yeah, guys, and not only me, but there's a slew of them, and I feel like there are more coming. Um, I was encouraged by other creators to start doing this, and I would encourage, if you want to start doing this, start doing it. Like, it's a ton of fun. It really helps get the message out there. I've loved doing it. It's helped me get to know the community more, which has been a ton of fun. But there's tons of good content creators out there for Battle Nations, and that's really exciting to see. We're even seeing some of the old ones come back, which has been pretty interesting.
Somebody asked about my favorite mission. I don't know if I want to.
Yeah.
If I want to spoil it. There's some mind-blowing things that happen in some of the later levels to some of our, allies. So I don't want to spoil it, but when I read that text, my mind was blown, and I was like, wow. So the missions, they have some really, really great writing. I would encourage everybody to actually read the text because it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Amazing writing. Don't just click past it. Enjoy the game, enjoy the missions, enjoy the story.
Oh, 100%. I think, and we're not going to get into it today. This is a much later discussion, but I think I think it's fair to say we are all very excited to see all the missions up to level 70 come back, and maybe what Madrona's twist is going to be on it. And this is well down the road, we know that, but it's fantastic. Some of the inside jokes, I'm really excited to see what Madrona does with it. I think we have a lot of confidence in this community. One thing that I do want to touch on, and if you can't talk about it, completely understand, just say pass. I think this is a community that is all extremely excited, extremely passionate, has a lot of love and faith in the game, and we love Madrona. I think we all have a little bit of PTSD from what might have happened back in the day. I think just after talking with you tonight and kind of getting to know you and talking a little bit about the dev team here, it's been very apparent to me that you guys really love Battle Nations, and to be fair, I think Z2 also really love Battle Nations. I couldn't imagine just how excited and how much effort they put into the game. But I think everyone just wants to make sure, like, you guys have that in the back of your mind, and that this is like the commitment kind of going forward.
Yeah, I am. I'm aware that how much the community loves the game. We all, like you said in the Madrona, we love the game. We really want to see it succeed, and that's why I'm saying one of the best things that you can do to help us out is to tell your friends. To get people to try the game out. It's a really fun game, right? Like so. It completely depends on the community and on basically getting a lot of players. If we can get back to the tens of millions of players that we had back in 2012, I think that would be amazing. And I think the more players there are, the quicker we can develop the games. So please tell your friends.
Is there any like worry about like server capacity for the games right now, or the servers are all pretty set?
No, there's no worry about that. As has been mentioned before, we are working on some really cool updates to the server, and we're really excited to bring those to you. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, the technical stuff that's not really exciting to talk about, but is definitely going to improve your experience going forward.
Interesting. Yeah, Black Membrane. I'm pretty sure Battle Nations had well over millions of players in 2012. I don't want to speak on numbers counts wise, but I would assume it was a pretty hefty population. Battle Nations was right up there with Clash of Clans the whole time, if I do recall. Red's Fun Bunker says, "What's your favorite Pokemon?"
Well, knowing that I'm a cat guy, you can probably guess that it's Mew.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome. Hey, Boris, I'm gonna you're more than welcome to hang out on the radio for as long as you want. We will go as long as you want to, but also do not feel obligated to stay if you. I think this has been a fantastic success. I think the one thing is do you ever think maybe you or anybody on the team would be open to doing something like this again?
Personally, I would love to. I know that there have been a couple of other YouTubers that have expressed interest
Yep.
in hosting me on their channel, and I would love to. If there's anything that you guys want to do and talk about other than the game, that's cool too. I feel like I've pretty much answered everything I could about the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
So we can just hang out and play the game or whatever. But I am totally open to that. The other people, like, you have to understand that not only does everybody basically have a day job
Hmm.
and is doing development on their free time, but they also have their own lives to talk, to do. So
Yeah.
we don't really have a ton of free time, and I'm really glad that I was able to find some today. But it's just a matter of time.
Yeah. No, totally understand. I wasn't saying specifically with me. Obviously, you are more than welcome here at any time, but it'd be cool to see you on the other channels. I think people are saying AP on here. AP's great. I know Madrona has worked with AP in the past in terms of getting that trailer out there, and that went really well. But yeah, Boris, you want to hang around? You want to play some Battle Nations, or you want to take off here? What are you thinking? I know
Oh,
you're
I
short
got
on
to get
time.
going.
Yep.
So it's been amazing. Thank you so much for having me on your channel, folks. If you haven't liked the stream yet, please like it. Please subscribe if you haven't. Click that little bell icon, and get your questions ready for the next time. Right?
Yes, sir. Well, Boris, I appreciate it. I'm gonna run for a little bit longer, but I hope you have a good evening, man. This has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you for coming by. Guys, W's in the chat for Boris. He did something I think we've all been looking forward to for a long time. So thank you so much. And Boris, you have a good rest of your evening. I'll be looking forward to just sending you a thank you card and really appreciate you doing this.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. And like I was saying before, I really, really love and appreciate the community. You guys are great. Keep doing what you're doing. I'll see you guys next time.
Cheers, Boris. You have a good evening.